Welcome to UO Today. I'm Paul Peppis, sitting in for Barbara Altman. Our guest today is acclaimed photographer Russel Wong. Wong is an alumnus of the University of Oregon. He earned a degree in finance in 1982. While pursuing his degree, Wong ran the trails near campus and snapped photos of the legendary athletes who competed at Hayward Field. After a return to his native Singapore for national service, Wong attended the Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles, earning a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Photography. Wong has gained fame with his striking celebrity portraits, landscapes, and commercial photography. He has shot for Time, Fortune, Elle, and GQ, among others. The exhibit, Russel Wong, The Big Picture, is on view at the Jordan Schnitzer Museum of Art until August 19th, 2012. Wong joins us today in the exhibit hall. Russel, thanks for taking the time for speaking with us. Welcome back to Tracktown, and welcome to U of O Today. What led to your decision to leave Singapore and attend college at the University of Oregon? My dad had this idea, if I did that, I would save 2 years of my life because, I didn't really finish high school. So I never really finished high school. I had 2 years left, and I figured I could jump the gun, gain the 2 years, save it, and go to college, if a college would accept me, and this school accepted me, and plus, I did all this research and knew it was a huge and a big place for track and field, and for sports, and Nike and all these stories I used to hear, and so that was a big attraction for me because I'm a huge sports fan, and that actually kind of got me here to Eugene, How have your studies at the U of O benefited your life and your career?
I mean, it's not just studies, I think the whole experience, the whole experience is not just academic. I mean, school is a school, but this place was always very comfortable for me, and it was a small community, and everyone's all personal, so it was really easy to navigate myself around, and people were hospitable. I had a fantastic American family, the Swensons, that took care of me, as my American mom and dad, and accepted me and showed me around and gave me advice, because my parents weren't here, obviously. So it was good that way, and learning about American culture, So it was not just the classroom that actually taught me everything, and just hanging out at the track and seeing how people train and seeing all these idols that I used to read about, just running past me. It was pretty surreal, I mean, coming from Singapore, whoa, it was like, did she just run past, or did he just run past? And so that kept me going on in terms of shooting and trying to shoot these people, because it wasn't because I was interested in photography, but the track and field made me use my photography to capture these people, and of course I fell in love with it again. And
that's what led to the particular involvement with sports photography, because you started shooting track stars.
So because of track and field, I mean, I was hanging out at Hayward Field, and I never had a pass. I would jump fences, every track, every dual meet, I'll be there in the same steeplechase corner, and I didn't have a pass, and it was like that every single year, and I fell in love with it, and that really, I was so obsessed with it, and I just wanted to capture these people that I read about, and these amazing runners that were running at that time, like Alberto Salazar, or even Carl Lewis, these are people that I wanted to capture, and I used my photography to do that, and to try to meet them even,
Can you tell me a particular story about that period, some event that happened to you at Hayward that you want to share?
It's not particularly at Hayward, but it's like, I remember my first break was my friends were reading the newspapers in the Eugene Register Guardian, and told me, hey, the great Sebastian Coe from England is coming to give a talk at Elton Baker Park. So I go, okay, great. That was a Sunday. I rode my bike down with my friend, and with a roll of film, my camera, and Sebastian just walked right onto the picnic shed. At that time, I think he held the world record for the 800 and 1500 a mile. I mean, to me, it was the most amazing runner, and even now, I mean, I still, really, wish I saw him run in person. So I was just really, excited about it, and when I went there to hear him talk, I started shooting portraits of him, and he was just giving a talk. I was sitting on the floor. There were 20 of us, and took pictures of him, and later on figured that, hey, let me enlarge this and let me put it in my doll room, and to cut a long story short, that particular picture was my first break and made it to the cover of Track and Field News, which is to me wow, I never planned it,
And that picture's in the show.
Yes, it's in the show, yeah, you know, like the picture that kicked it off, you know, so to speak.
Can you tell me what photographers have most influenced you?
At that time, I mean, when I was doing sports photography, I mean, not anyone in particular, but you know, like everyone would read Sports Illustrated, and if you were a sports photographer, that's who you wanted to work for. I remember the great Brian Lanker, you know, I mean, Brian was always walking around. I never met him, and I always knew who he was, and I would always, like after the track meet, the day after the track meet, I would always get a copy of the register card just to see what he shot and how he saw it, and it was always like really surprising. I learned from that. You know, and I wish I met him. You know, I was
he
just
passed
a kid
away
running
this
around.
year. You know.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, I had a chance to meet his wife, so that was nice. And that was kind of my little school for myself because I was always self-taught till that point. And as I went on, and when I got to fashion photography, of course, Richard Avedon, you know, Richard Avedon, Horst, Irving Penn. These are people that were, to me, I wanted to research and study about and just read about and try to learn something from.
So you've often been called the Avedon of Asia. In fact, in every single thing I've read, they call you the Avedon of Asia. What I want to know is, can you tell me what's unique and distinctive about your style? What makes you the Wong of Asia?
I think, you know, I'm pretty diversified. You know, I don't just shoot just hardcore fashion or hardcore portraits. I mean, I shoot landscapes, I shoot portraits, I shoot fashion, I shoot even interiors. And I mean, there's nothing I don't shoot, really. But I think the factor and the concept I try to like bring to what I do is I want to make sure whatever I do is timeless. It's going to last more than 3 months because we live in such a disposable society now that things don't last for more than 3 months, you know, and you throw stuff away. So I've always was taught by my dad and my mom that the good things in life really last. And why are they good? Because there's a certain craftsmanship to it. So I'm always working on my craft, and you know, like tricks and trends and, you know, like gimmicks, to me, it has never worked for me. So I just always try to use the basic, simple, just nice, simple light, great design of the photograph, and these are the things that drive me, and I would say it's prevalent in all the pictures I do, you know, hopefully that someone is able to pick that up.
What is it about portrait photography, portraiture, that is particularly appealing for you?
I love people. I mean, since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed being around people. I mean, since I was a kid, I was always talking to adults and talk to everyone, you know. Like my dad used to say, man, if I send me to Alaska, he'd be like talking to the polar bears, you know. So I was that kind of a guy, and I always enjoyed people. I've always enjoyed people, and so it was a very natural thing for me to do something that had to do with people. I feel really comfortable with them. I mean, people tell me, hey, how do you like work with this guy or work with that guy, or how do you like make someone feel at ease? I mean, that's something you can't teach someone. So I've always been a people person, and because of that, I'm always on the side of the subject I shoot. I'm never not on his side. So in doing that, I mean, my photo is just going to make him look good, or look better, or make her look pretty or attractive, because I'm always on the side of the subject. And I'm such a people person that, you know, I mean, I can't make that person look bad or have a bad edge to it, because I don't see people that way.
And you sort of answered the question I was going to ask, which is...
I read your mind.
You're a smart guy. Instead of asking you how you put your celebrity subjects at ease, I won't ask you that because the list is incredible. Michael Jackson, Jackie Chan, Yo-Yo Ma, Glenn Close, Ang Lee, goes on and on. How do you... are you able to treat them like regular people, or you just that whole...
I tell you what the key is, you know. The key is, it's very psychological when you walk into a shoot. Okay, who is control? That's pretty much it. You walk into that room, who is calling the shot? So for me, I want to be the one calling the shot, because if I'm not calling the shot, that shot is not going to be mine. Before I shoot, I have an image in my head, and I know roughly how I'm going to approach that. So I will do, and I'll just do it, maybe like I'll be a passive-aggressive or whatever, and figure it out, and I know I'm going to get that shot, no matter what. So when I'm in there, when I'm talking to the person, you know, I don't want to overly respect them. Because if you do that, and you're talking from a lower level up, psychologically, he's got an advantage. He can say no to you. He can say, I don't want to do it. So I don't even give them a chance to do it. And you got to teach them like kids. You know, don't give them open-ended answers like, hey, would you like to put this on? No, you go, put that on. You know, so he's got to, I mean, that's how I do it. And it works all the time. So I'm talking to them just at the same level. There's like a mutual respect. I'm not lower or higher than you. And sometimes I throw in like stupid conversation just to throw him off a bit and not talk about the normal stuff. And you go like, You know, like, like what you just say. You know, so just to keep them, you know, on their toes a bit, but it's important to be on the same level, but you are in control no matter what, you know. If not, you're going to be shooting what they want to shoot, which is not going to be a shot.
So can you share a favorite story about a photo shoot that you've done?
One of them sticks to mind is the image I have of Jackie Chan. And, you know, I was supposed to do a cover for Time magazine, and Jackie was like really, you know, made it big doing like, you know, Rush Hour, the Rush Hour series of films. So I figured like, okay, he's on top of the world. He's like the king of Hong Kong. I'm going to make him look like he owns the city. So I had this idea of putting him in the middle of the road in Hong Kong, right in the middle of the street with a chair, just hanging out, you know, like in the middle with traffic coming by. And so we identified a place and we went to Kowloon, you know, a big street with all the neon lights. And yeah, it was just trying to find the place, and he wanted to see the location. And so it was 12 midnight after dinner, the night before the shoot. I brought him to the location, and we were running up and down the street. They thought we were doing a movie or something. So I said, look, Jackie, this is where I'm going to shoot you. He said, okay, fine. How about this other place? No, it doesn't work because I can't see the neon signs. So he was really involved with it. I mean, which big movie person is going to come with me, run up and down the street just to see the location I picked? So he's really involved. I really appreciated it. And so come the day, which was the next day, and he had the chair, I had the camera, and my sister had the light, and we were all in the middle of the road. And when the traffic light stopped the cars behind him, we would run out in the middle of the road with no security.
Wow.
He'll sit down and we start shooting and posing, you know, and then we run back out. So we could do only maybe 6 frames of film until the cars would come again behind him in the buses. And we would do that consistently, and to the point where he didn't want to move from the car, from the middle of the road. He says, I say, hey, Jackie, this car is coming by, this bus is coming by, you got to get out soon. He said, no, Russell, don't worry about it. They will hit me before they hit you. So I'm like, okay, fine, you're Jackie Chan, you know, but I'm not, you know. So that was always like stuck in the middle of my head, you know, yeah.
Oh, that's a great story. So despite your American education, your frequent work for American magazines and work with American celebrities, you've chosen to make your career in Singapore. Why is that important for you?
It's important in the sense that, you know, I'm from there. You know, I'm Asian, I'm from there, and I relate, you know, to the region, to the market there. And also on the other side, you know, the other point is, it's like, I wanted to bring a certain kind of a style and certain kind of a thing, like, from the West, which I think markets movies great. The slickness of the pictures, the posters, all the collateral that they have. And I wanted to bring that to Asia. So we started doing that and doing like with Crouching Tiger, for example. You know, it was on the cover of Time magazine. You know, and until then, people didn't really watch Chinese films or foreign films, you know. And then suddenly Crouching Tiger came along, and everyone knew about it, and I was glad I was involved in that. And people were reading about it and seeing pictures and portraits of Chow and Michelle and Zhang Zi. And then, so that meant a lot to me because that was part of cinema history. And it's like the benchmark now, right? The gold standard. And I felt that was important, you know. And plus, you know, I relate to them and I've seen their films since I was a kid. And so it meant a lot to me because, you know, like everyone grows up with Jackie Chan films and stuff. And just to be able to work with him was like really a really dream come true for me. It meant a lot to me, you know. I can speak the same language with the same culture, and I wanted, for want of a better word, to like see them like shine the way everyone else shine in a Hollywood or whatever, you know. But with the right, you know, publicity material and the slickness and just a more global, you know, like approach, I think. Yeah.
You've done a great job at
Thanks.
that. Can you describe how you think your style or your career has progressed or changed, how it's evolved?
I mean, it's like now you know, people know me as a portrait photographer, shooting people, fashion, you know. And of course, you know, I stumbled across shooting a landscape because I was on the set, you know, with Zhang Yimou, the great Chinese director, and on the House of Flying Daggers. So of course we were shooting in the bamboo forest, and I go, hey, I'm in a bamboo forest, you know. Why don't we get a nice landscape shot, you know? So I got my 8x10 out and started shooting landscape of the bamboo forest, and that got me going on another tangent, you know, on a different path. You know, at the same time, I was still, of course, doing my portrait work, but that kind of opened up another door, which I never thought I would do. You know, like I would see amazing Ansel Adams shots, and I thought, wow, I'll never be able to do that, you know? So it was just a real huge departure, so to speak, and I really enjoy shooting the outdoors now. Gets me out hiking around. I got a different set of wardrobe for my hiking, you know. So, you know, So I get to go to places that I wouldn't have gone because I'm like this comfy guy. I don't want to suffer, nice hotels, and suddenly I'm out in the wild, waiting there at 4:30 in the morning for the sun to rise in the middle of nowhere in China. So that gets me excited now because I'm able to get away and just get back, more importantly, to photography. Because in what I do, the movie stars and the movie business and the films, it's a lot of people involved, and sometimes it's not about the photography. I mean, I spend maybe 5% shooting, and the rest of the time I'm trying to set it up. Dealing with hair, makeup, managers, bodyguards, agents, So that stuff, it gets a bit tiring after a while. And whereas shooting the landscapes, I'm back to being a photographer. It's just my camera, my espresso, waiting there for the sun to rise. I mean, that's really therapeutic, and it gets me out there, and back to the pure form, and back to what I love, which is like creating images, yeah.
So we're sitting in front of the photo that you just described, this gorgeous bamboo forest from the House of Flying Daggers. You mentioned very quickly in passing about the 8x10 camera and Ansel Adams. Can you say a little bit more about the technical side of this and the significance of Adams for you in terms of this move?
When you think of landscape photography, Ansel Adams, I can't even name someone that's even, and in school we were taught the zone system and all that and stuff, and that was always in the back of my head. But it is so difficult. It is so difficult, and I learned the hard way because, being a portrait photographer and shooting on sets and with people, I have full control. I have full control. If I want to place a light there, I place a light there. If I want some mist, I pump some mist at the back of the forest, you're in total control. Whereas, I'm turning up and I want to do just a shot of the forest, and I have no idea what the light's going to do. I have no idea whether it's going to be mist. I have no idea. So I don't have any control over that. That really freaks me out, freaked me out when the first time I went there. I said, wow, this is a lot more difficult than I thought. And it's a lot of patience, a lot of patience of just finding out the weather patterns. So I'm like suddenly this weatherman. I can tell you when the fog rises, what time it subsides, and like which area and which month has snowfall, and it's crazy. So I got these people like looking out for me. And it's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of waiting. Just waiting for that light, that correct light to hit. And sometimes it doesn't happen. You go back the next day. And I go back like 30 times, to that same location, and it always looks different. So the landscape part, it is a lot more difficult than I thought, because you don't have any control. Yeah.
So this 8x10 camera, what does this camera allow you to do that the camera that you usually use in the studio doesn't?
The 8x10 camera, of course, the negative is 8x10 inches. So it's kind of, the larger the negative or the source, the higher the resolution, the more detail you're going to get. That's why you could see snowflakes and just the texture of snow from an 8x10 camera. It gives you that much detail. So that's the part that I love, working. And also, you have to think things over. You have, on location, maybe you bring 10 sheets or 8 sheets of film, because these are heavy, like film holders that you're like packing up the mountain. And you just have to wait, and you have to like budget how many shots you're gonna do. You kind of hit it on the motor drive and just go, okay, we'll have enough memory for the card. Or, right. You got 10 sheets to just nail it. And that's the part that's a lot of pressure, but you design the shot, you think about it. You can't be moving the camera too much, because this stuff is, this camera is big. So that makes you think and design a lot more, and be like, make sure you nail it the first time, or but if you have 5 sheets and you have 5 sheets of film.
So you're not ready to give up on film. You're not ready to go all digital yet.
No, I do digital for my commercial work, and my fine art work. I still half and half, but I still love working with negative. I still love working with a big camera, it's just, to me, it's a different mode and a different approach and different thinking when you use it. It changes you when you use different equipment. And that's the part that I love, that just sitting, waiting, designing it, not having like, the luxury of having, they shoot continuous frames, so it makes you think, which I love. Now these days, you whip it out and go click, 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 and then you go, oh, let's pick it later on, and you don't know what you're going to get. So in fact, you don't even think it over, because you know that you have so many chances to do it. Yeah.
I know that you've done some lithography and printmaking, and you've mixed your photographs. Tell me how you got started on that, and how does that change your approach to photography? Or?
Yeah, this I was doing a museum show in Singapore, and I had an opportunity to be invited by the Singapore Tyler Print Institute, and they make amazing prints. I mean, they have amazing printmaking machines there, Japanese printers mainly, printmakers, and they have not worked with a photographer yet, at least until then. So it was interesting for them. Okay, let's work with a photographer, because they would just work with painters and these type of artists. And then suddenly I came in with images, and I wanted to like doctor up and paint and do stuff to my portraits. So that was fun for me, because I learned that like in photography, at least the way I do it, I shoot it, I print it, and I'm done. Whereas for printmaking, I'm like, okay, I can put red, I can put purple, I can put specks of paint, I can splatter stuff. It's never ending. And so it makes me think now, like, what can I do to my photographs? Not just in its pure form that I see it. There's a black and white print, and now I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can print it on metal. Oh, maybe I can print it on metal and scratch it, So it opens up a different avenue for me. When I look at my images now, like, what can I do to it to enhance it or give it a little twist that's not just a normal black and white image that I'm creating, like from print.
So you've said a couple of things today about the importance of being in control, but also the limitations of being in control. And you've worked very closely with Zhang Yimou, I know. You're interested, I understand, in, at some point, making films. Mm-hmm. How did you get into that, and where's that? Where are you at on that?
I mean, I pretty much, been living on a film set for quite a while. So it's been a really comfortable place for me to be. And every time I see the directors direct, I've worked with the great directors and shot behind them, and I go like, hey, hang on a second, I can do that, so it's kind of encouraging. And in fact, every time I go to a film set, I'm like going to school. So I'm like this student they didn't know they had, right? Mm-hmm. And, working with like Yimou or Ang Lee, I mean, these are amazing directors, and I can learn so much from them. And yeah, so I've been directing commercials already. So just to sharpen the knife and try to get, like used to the language more and just being a director. And because a lot of my print work, it's highly directed. So it's easy for me that way, because I give a lot of direction in my print work. So I'm like trying to work on, like a project, hopefully, I don't know how soon, but I've always had an idea in mind and a film in mind that I want to shoot in Singapore in English that's going to be global. So I'm trying to slowly work towards that. In the meantime, direct commercials just to keep at it, But yeah, it's like that's something I really want to do, and it will be just a whole thing that encapsulates what I do until this time.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
So, is it true that you were the first to sneak a live duck into Mac Court?
Yep.
Can you tell that story?
Yeah, it's like my friend and I, Bob, we lived right by the mill race in a dorm at the University Inn then. And I went to every single basketball game because I would always be behind a basket taking pictures of the basketball players. So I'll be the first in there, And so one day, it's like, we're playing UCLA, and I think Bob came up to me and said, hey, man, we're playing UCLA, and we got to like make a statement, and let's throw a duck in. I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. So Bob and I went down to the mill race, and we grabbed hold of a duck. We caught a duck from the mill race. I remember putting it into my pillowcase, and then we taped up the neck, and then we put it in my backpack. And so that we had the neck sticking out just for the duck to breathe. And as we were walking in the Mac Court, we of course zipped it up for that split second before we passed the ushers, went all the way to the top, and we had the moment the announcer goes, and now the University of Oregon Fighting Ducks, from the top of the balcony, we released the duck, and it was like, I think 2 ducks, and one made a crash landing right smack in the middle and slid halfway across the court, and that made it to the front paper of the Eugene Register Guard, and we just felt that, I think that was the highlight of my college career. So it happened,
So you're still a sports fanatic, I think.
Oh, I still am, yeah. Always will be,
Do you still follow the Ducks?
I still do, yeah, I still do, and I watch it they televise the games back home in Singapore, and sometimes I get it out from net, and a lot of the old alumni friends of mine, we talk about it and we keep up on it, and I'm still very close and have a great relationship with the university, and this is amazing what they've done,
Yeah, incredible.
Exactly. I mean, I wish they played that way when I was in school.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, it's amazing. I mean, everyone wants to be like them. Everyone wants to play like them. Everyone wants to dress like them. So I think it's just fantastic for the school, and it's just I still, when on my shoots, I still wear my Oregon Duck cap, baseball cap, and even at the Tour de France, sometimes running up the mountain shooting, these cyclists, or at a golf course, and people will just come up and tap me and say, "Hey, are you a duck?" So that's just amazing, like camaraderie,
Yes, you never stop being a duck.
Exactly.
So, do you have a favorite photograph that you've taken that you can tell us about?
It's like I say, it's a lot of stories. Like for every single one, it's a lot of stories for me, and it's a lot of different experiences. It's like I mean, the bamboo shot I love because that's very different from what I usually do, and people remember that. Somehow they talk about it, and it was up in the auction block in Christie's, and it did really well. So that's one of them. And of course, the Sebastian Coe picture, which I shot, it started my career in a way at Alta Baker Park. I mean, that set the whole thing off. And I will always remember that day. It seemed like just yesterday I was down at the park, sitting down on the floor, as a kid, just shooting a roll of Kodachrome. And little did I know that day and that image would pretty much change my life. So that's always like one of the shots I can never run away from. That it has, always brings that good feeling, Yeah, and coming back to Eugene, and yeah.
Well, I think that's a wonderful place to stop our interview.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We've been speaking with UO alumnus and acclaimed photographer Russel Wong. An exhibit of his work is now showing at the Jordan Schnitzer Museum of Art. Russel Wong, The Big Picture, will be on view until August 19th, 2012. You can come and see many of the photos that he discussed with us today. Thanks for watching.